Let me present to you the Fortress of Eastward, founded in the year 100. To secure holdings northeast of the mountain home, and amass wealth lying beneath those wild halls. Although it is not far from the civilized world, they was yet to be braved by any expedition. So the fortress features a small but beautiful 3x3 embark with a minor river waterfall flowing down into a canyon, where a stream flowing from the south emerges with said river. The canyon side of the entrance to the fortress with a drawbridge reaching the other lower side of the canyon using it as a natural moat. And a great wall with a trapped entryway for defending the area above the fortress. The trapped entryway with water system for collecting water or, if desired, destroying corpses of enemies and their items. And of course, a bright and grand entryway with the main hall designed and polished in silver and light-colored siltstone for the opulent offices and the water tavern open to visitors. The Grand Citizen Tavern, featuring the floor pixel art and this fortress surrounding, and a set piece of library and a tomb complex with a cumulative value of over 400,000 Zethal. Many beautifully designed guild halls with overall value of 300,000 and multiple district-like bedroom areas with living room and bedroom houses for all citizens, including many opulent mansions for dwarves of higher importance. Legendary dining room with a grand cavern view and almost 40,000 stone blocks and 7,000 metal bars were used in the building. Most of the first cavern lair conquered and sealed off, and the grand cavern pasture for all Drothlas is the main source of meat and leather and bones for the fortress. In the process of digging into the fun spire and blocking wagon access for the trade depot was an intentional action because of the bug. Only one wagon would enter and immediately dropping some items. That seems like stuff is getting spooked, not a bug. And they mentioned that they have a potato PC, so they're curious how this fort runs on my computer because they tried to design it to maintain FPS. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another community fortress. This is the Fortress of Eastward, sent in on the Discord by Piekarz. If you would like to send in a fortress for me to have a look at on this show, we're pushing it more in a lore direction if possible. But if you'd like to send in a fortress for me to have a look at on this show, you can do that via my Discord server. There's a link down in the description of this video. Let's dive in. So this is the Fortress of Eastward, a quite dramatic look to the eye when you take an immediate glance at it. There's a couple of bridges kind of rolling around and a grand wall. I really, really like this wall. In regards to stuff kind of just getting disappeared when they show up to trade, it's likely because of agitated wildlife. That being said, I don't actually know the exact answer as to what it is. They do say that this is in an untamed biome, so I don't know if it's a bug necessarily. It could be any number of things. Just as an example, you could have something that's stealth that you can't actually see that is on the map. In fact, I can actually check for that with DF hack. So if I just type in exterminate, let's just take a real quick peek. Maybe not. I mean, there's a bird raven. There was one time I did that and I had 18 stealth giant ticks on my map in an untamed wilds biome. But we have a very large bridge here. And as we kind of scroll down into the fortress, we can see many different entrances. We do have a minecart switch here, which appears to be connected to a bunch of upright spikes right here, which is, always nice to see. You'll love to see it. So that's kind of our defensive entrance from what I can tell. And I'm assuming that this is the more main entrance based on the road here. So this is very nicely put together. And they do want to see what the frame rate is, so let's unpause it while we're kind of going through the initial bits. Maybe not to make you feel bad, but I'm running this at 100 frames. So this runs very well for 124 dwarves. Everybody is excruciatingly happy, like painfully happy. There's silver statues lining these walls and many places for dwarves to train and store their armor. 3 squads are assigned to this, and we do have a beautiful little mist generator right here. Bits and pieces of creatures lining the halls. I have actually had trouble putting creatures onto pedestals. I started trying to do this in one of my more recent forts, and it just kind of didn't work. So that looks really nice, I gotta say. So well done on that. From what I can tell, you kind of have to make them put it into a stockpile and then move them onto the pedestal. But yeah, I've had troubles with that. And then there's a little bronze colossus here just kind of hanging out. Over here, we have the trade depot, which is beautifully surrounded by silver. I really like this kind of suspended into the cliff face. I need to build a fort like this again in like a big old cliff face, just suspended into the cliff face. Even the little bits of wood are a nice touch. I really, 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 really like this office design for the Duke. That is really, really, really pretty looking. And then these are also just very nicely laid out little offices. I should start putting what's the word? More bookshelves into offices, because they just suit the offices even though they're not necessarily used. And then here is a tavern with rooms for guests, which are connected to the tavern, so they should be usable by guests, even though they will never get officially rented. You know, it won't ever say that there's any rented, but they can sleep in them, which is what matters. Now over here we have what seems to be the main stairway, and over here there's a little ramp. This little ramp kind of goes down to just the hospital kind of layer, and then some more stairs just kind of power down. But the other stairway seems to be the more major stairway, so we're going to follow that one first, because this is the one that all the dwarves are using. So over here we have a bunch of other rooms. These are just very, very, very nicely set up bedrooms, as well as the drainage for the mist generator. And then down here are more, once again, extremely nice bedrooms, as was described in the description. Just as a quick overview, they all have their own table, they all have their own bookcase, they all have their own brass, they all have their own silver. Like, this is, whew, like, I love the designs of these, and I love the varied patterns, too, for the different edges. Just a really, 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 really nicely laid out bedroom area. Then there is I guess what was another water zone. I'm not entirely sure. There's some elves in cages there. That's weird. I won't ask. Don't worry about it. Then over here is a bunch of mining that's happened. And then as we move down, we've got a huge layer where the whole thing was mined out. And I guess like they set this up to train engraving. And then, so these large open areas, I don't know if this is entirely true, but these large open areas, I've been told, can affect frame rate. So what I assume they did was they sealed this off in this way just to make the frame rate better. But we're going to follow these kind of three main things down until we hit this. This is a temple complex, from what I can tell, and holy crap. So we've got this down here, which is a big old library with 252 books, which is beautiful looking and has multiple layers. Goes down to here, and then up here, there's just even more stuff. So let's see if we can unpack this. These are all tombs, and then down here is entryways to the tombs. These are all assigned to dwarves, but very few of them are actually deceased. There's one that's actually deceased, Obok, rest in peace. We've got many different engravings of, I assume, the portraits of dwarves, and then these are all of the temples as part of the temple complex. The value of this thing has to be off the goddamn charts, as was mentioned. Obsidian, brass, and steel. Is that steel? Yeah, steel walls. And then just this central stairway. Like, I'm not surprised that every dwarf in this fortress is ecstatic. And then down here we have more offices. Some of them are assigned. I like the name Eastwarden. That is a good name. I'm assuming that's a noble of some sort. Yeah, Eastward and the bookkeeper. That's a really good name. I love it when people give their dwarves like in-world lore names or whatever. And then we have the Duke and Etor, the captain of the guard, I would assume. No, the Baron, who's also in the military of some sort. So beautiful tombs. Same with down here. Some of these have forbidden items in them. I'm not entirely sure why that's forbidden. I'm gonna pause the game now because there's a forgotten beast. And then over here, we have, just artifact items, or alternatively important items to this deceased dwarf. They must have been in the military or something. Very, very, very respectful. I like that. Moving down, there's more in this tomb layer, but let's continue moving down. We have this beautiful, glorious meeting area filled with artifacts, which is always incredible to see. This fortress currently is giving me, like, valuable materials envy. There is still some spaces that are actively being worked on over here, as you can see, but then we move down into the cavern layer and we get the meat of the fortress. So these are all bedrooms, once again, incredibly well designed. Each with their own bits of furniture, their own table, their own chair, their own coffer, their own window. They get to gaze out upon the glorious cavern layers, which seems to be more or less secured, if not entirely secured. So as we kind of pass the path around here, this is the Drothla enclosure that was discussed earlier, where they are getting their meat from, as well as their meals, I would assume. Over here is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful dining hall. And I love this. This is fantastic. This is the decent cave, decent indeed, a tavern for citizens only. Absolutely glorious. Look at this shit. That's just fantastic. And then more bedrooms, of course, for the dwarven populace. And of course, more bedrooms over here on the left. Nice small map, lends to the high frame rate. Some of these bedrooms are cobwebbed. But you know, they're also not claimed by anybody, so that makes sense. You know, perfect. Like, the simulation is working as it should. Then here in the center, we have Nickelcloth, who's, I guess, some sort of dwarf of importance. Let's actually double check what their job is, because they are named. Yeah, I don't even see them, but maybe I'm just living up to my name. Oh, wait, no, they're the third one down. They're the mayor. Okay, so that's the mayor's office. I llove this kind of entryway to it with the bars. Very, very, very nicely built. Same with this tavern. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely goddamn phenomenal. Throughout this, we got the Turquoise Gravel, which is, of course, a engraver guild, which has no workers in the guild, which means there's no members for this guild, which is kind of hysterical. However, it is still operating because it's just set to public, or any citizens can go into it. Then over here, we have the Hollow Merc, which is a minor guild hall. I like how the minor guild hall is just open mind zone. I'm not sure what happened with the camera there. Let's continue moving down. Got our farming layer, power, of course, and logs kind of scattered around everywhere in the sealed caverns. Can continue moving down, and we've got some beasties. Seems angry. I don't know. Also kind of friendly. Shoutouts to these snails. These giant snails. Big fan. Very slow friends, but still friends. Over here, I guess, is a Clothes Workers Guild. Craftsdwarf's Guild Hall. Yeah. So that's got clothing being made in there, as well as various other clothing setups and farming setups in this area. Seems to be mostly for crafting as well as farming, and then, of course, processing of various other things like dyes and cloth. Then down here is a little thingy that spins, and it makes Spike appear, which is always good. And then I'm assuming the Forgotten Beasts that make it through this get stabbed. Would make sense. I can see that. Oh, I see. They're chasing out. They go after the big snails, and then they go through here and either get impaled to death or they end up in here. Makes sense. I see how that works. Cool little setup. I like it. And then we can continue moving down a little bit, at which point we encounter more guild halls and more guild halls and more guild halls, and I'm still getting Fortress Envy here. My God, this is beautiful. So we've got tower cap bins everywhere, which also look really nice. And then this very large area, which is above lava. I'm assuming this is a metalworkers guild. Yep, metalsmiths guild. That checks out. We've got lava, metalsmithing going on. Frame rate in this fort is fantastic once again. And then I think that's the bottom of the fort. So let's unpause the fort just again and see what the frame rate looks like. And let's see also how deep we can go. There's lava being pumped out. Good to see. And they are in the process of digging too deep. Let's see what a life for Errol in this fortress looks like. He's picking up equipment. But honestly, like, this is an incredibly beautiful fortress. I'm assuming it took about 30 years to build, seeing as it's in year 28. Very much was made with very common resources because there's so much of everything everywhere. But an absolute beauty of a fort, honestly. Like, this looks so nice. So nice. But, of course, opulence isn't always the optimal outcome as well. I think that it is a very reasonable thing in Dwarf Fortress to try and keep things a little bit more modest and also at the same time beautiful. This is very much on the opulent scale. I absolutely adore the way this fortress looks, and we have to take a peek at it in ASCII, of course, because a fortress like this deserves the ASCII treatment. I mean, look at that. Looks like something out of a friggin' like grimdark horror film. I love the look of this. This is awesome. So honestly, thank you so much to Piekarz for sending in this fortress for me to have a look at. And I'm sorry for taking so long to get to these, but better late than never. The channel has been kind of in flux a little bit. And once I get back from PAX, my plan for these community forts is for me to not do a little bit of writing necessarily, that's the wrong word to use, but use them as a way for me to kind of extrapolate a little bit of lore about every single fortress. Whether it's like me writing a description or alternatively just simply using something that the creator provides. But thank you very much for watching this video, and thank you so much to Piekarz for sending in this fortress. And if you happen to be in Seattle, I am at PAX West this weekend, so maybe ping me on Discord and we'll come say hi. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.